Today we're going to be talking about annual meetings for small businesses. This is something that is often not thought about, and when it is thought about, it's often overthought about and made into a much bigger deal than it needs to be. Here's the basics of it. Under most corporation statutes that I'm familiar with, companies are generally required to have annual meetings, and so that applies even down to small companies. However, many of them don't, because the truth is, in many states, there are no real negative consequences to not having an annual meeting. However, the facts and circumstances apply, so you'll want to talk to your legal counsel about whether it's a good idea for you to have annual meetings or not. On the LLC case, the state statutes I'm familiar with generally don't require an annual meeting for an LLC. However, I have seen many lawyers that write LLC documents to try to make the LLC operate like a corporation. And in those cases, you may have an annual meeting requirement. And in those cases, because it is not a statute with case law, but rather a contractual provision, there may be different consequences to not having an annual meeting. So whether you need to have an annual meeting or not is something you really need to analyze. As I always say, I can't really give you legal advice over the internet, over YouTube. I'm just giving you educational materials, things to help you that you can potentially use with your counsel to help advance your situation. That being said, annual meetings, even whether they're not required or not, can generally be a good idea, and they're not that hard to do. In order to have an annual meeting for corporations, you look at your corporation statute and then generally your bylaws, and that's going to lay out how do you set up an annual meeting. Typically, you're going to mail a notice out. Nowadays, you can often do that electronically. You'll let your stockholders or equity owners know that there's going to be a meeting, date, time, location, and you'll welcome them to come visit. You'll want to have the place set up for them to physically arrive, conference room or ballroom, depending on the size of the corporation, number of people attending. And then you'll want to set up a general agenda of the meeting. The meeting can be quite simple. Typically, the president or the leadership will talk. You may give a financial summary, an update about the business, and then you may vote about some important matters, such as reinstalling your board of directors, maybe talking about some strategic initiatives. But the main thing is it gets everybody together in a conversation about the business, and that's the missing piece that I think a lot of people are missing. They don't want to do these annual meetings because they're cumbersome. They got to take time out of the schedule. You got to bring everybody together. You got to have a meeting location. Those are all burdens. But the benefits of having everybody together to have the conversation, to have camaraderie about the business, and to really move the business to the next level can be so critical. So I want you to seriously think about whether you might want to have annual meetings for your business. And if you haven't been doing it, it might be something you want to meet with your legal counsel and consider. Should we restart doing this? Should we get this going for our future? You may be surprised by the benefit. If you have questions or comments, drop them below. Or if you have ideas for other videos around business law, let me know, and I may cover them in a future video. Looking forward to reading your comments. Consider subscribing. I hope you join me for another video soon.